Good evening and welcome to a new edition of A Daily Debate. This evening we'll be debating an issue which is capturing quite a lot of headlines and the backbone to security and peace within this region, which is the Palestinian question. Following a resolution which was issued by the United Nations illegalizing settlements building on Palestinian territories, unfortunately, the Israeli side unveiled quite an unpleasant face. This evening with the distinguished gentleman will be shedding light on what are the prospects in the upcoming Paris conference, which is scheduled for January the 15th, in other words, a few days from now. What are the prospects when one of the main key players or partners is not a willing partner to sit to the negotiating table? That will be discussed in a few moments. But before we do so, President-elect Donald Trump had his first press conference earlier in the day, exactly 6 p.m. Cairo local time. Quite a number of messages in the conference, mostly pertaining to local issues rather than international policy. With us on the phone is His Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, who will be shedding light on the historic press conference, so to speak. Your Excellency, can you hear us?
Yes, Dina, how are you?
How are you, sir? Today we heard the first press conference by President-elect Donald Trump a few days before his actual inauguration. What are the key messages that you felt he delivered in that conference?
I think relations with Russia dominated his first press conference, and I think he tried to keep the balance between the information circulated about the Russian hacking of the election,
yes,
and his particular relations with President Putin and Russia. Mm-hmm. And he referred very clearly that he has no connection or compromising positions with Russia, and he referred that other nations might also be hacking, but in all accounts he tried to keep the balance between the circulated information and the future relations that it seems he is putting in a high priority in the future agenda between him and Russia. I think this was one of the most important. The second was the clear accusation for certain news agencies and stations like the CNN and the Paz. Also, he referred to certain information circulated by the CIA, unfounded information circulated by the CIA, and the ethical issue pertaining to the role of media that is faking or diffusing unfounded news. I think he, as you said, referred also to local issues, and his reference to the industries. As you know, one of the constituencies that have supported him widely was the white collars, those who are unemployed after the closure of many industries, car industry in particular, and pharmaceutical, moving east and west, as he referred. Yes. So he promised to create jobs like no other, and he promised to re-establish the closed industries. I think this is in fulfillment of his message. And as of the barrier wall he referred to with Mexico, he said that he will initiate work immediately. I think those were the 5 most important dimensions of one of his first conferences, and of course it's very important. 48 hours where outing President Obama has also given a very emotional speech yesterday,
yes, and
today
speech.
A press conference, keeping us very busy reading the history of the outgoing and the future of the coming.
Your Excellency, well, we can't say on the sidelines, but there's quite an active U.S. agenda, because earlier in the day, a delegation from the National Security Council, which is a non-governmental entity, met with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and following the meeting, they said they will relate to the new administration the large positive strides that Egypt has taken vis-a-vis economic and social reform. Go ahead.
I'm very optimistic, Dina, of the future of our relations with the new administration. The visit that you have referred to of the Business Council that is related to national security issue is a very important visit indeed. As you said, it is a recognition of Egypt taking the bold step in reforming, restructuring its economy and dealing with the IMF in a serious reform program. I think we have shown the world that we have taken the necessary steps to move forward with our economy, and this is the result. The world community is visiting us, and today, while we are talking, Sameh Shukri also is in Berlin on a similar note. The restructuring program and Egypt's bold decisions in the economic front has shown clearly that we are serious and resilient at the same time. So the visit will open up gates for Egypt-American relations, and as President Sisi have clearly identified to the visiting delegates that the relations between the two countries are strategic, and he referred also, because I know that you are hosting Ambassador Hazim Abu Shanab.
Yes.
He referred clearly in his meeting to the Palestinian question and the role Egypt are playing to facilitate reaching peace and security in the region, and on top of all our issues are the Palestinian issue. And I'm sure that this ongoing relations and solid contacts between the two parties will allow us not only settling all the issues in the region and opt for a new Middle East, but also to give the rightful attention needed to push the Palestinian cause forward and to protect the two-state solution. The president said that all and invited the American businesses to support the transformation of our economy and to support and invest in our country.
Your Excellency, before we wrap up, since you raised the Palestinian question, which is really the focus of our discussion this evening, do you think that the Trump administration might realize that the current Israeli government is really not bent on sitting to the negotiating table and moving the process in a peaceful direction? Will there be more pressure from the U.S. on Israel to start adhering to what's written on paper?
I think the decision taken in the Security Council, the resolution adopted in the Security Council that condemned the settlement in general is a manifestation of the change, that has taken place in the world community's vision towards the case. And I'm sure the American administration will fast realize that the world community are now entrenched into a peace conference that is a requirement to protect the two-state solution for the benefit of both parties, to the peace and security of the whole region, and for the benefit of securing a two-state solution where two states living side by side.
Yes.
This is, Dina, I think, the outcome of my prediction to the Trump administration. I think they will take serious what we are doing also in the coming 15th of January French-called international conference.
Definitely.
And that will open up gates, I hope, for settling the Palestinian cause.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Your Excellency,
so.
Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, always a pleasure to have you with us on Daily Debate. 77 countries are expected to sit to the negotiating table a few days from now to try to work out some kind of a formula for a two-state solution, a compromise by the Palestinian people, really, who are giving up part of their land. The question is, do we have the active ingredients to actually carry out any two-state solution when one of the leading partners refuses to attend the meeting? We'll be taking a look at the following report and continuing our discussion, so please stay with us.
The second Paris Middle East Peace Conference is scheduled to take place January 15th amid of speculation about any success following the Israeli party's refusal to participate. The International Peace Conference could be the last chance to reach historic compromise between the Israeli and Palestinian government, a senior Abbas advisor said. The Paris Conference could be the last opportunity to save the two-state solution, Majd al-Khalidi, Palestinian Authority, President Mahmoud Abbas's advisor for diplomatic affairs, said. If the current Israeli government refuses to work with the results of the conference, it may bear responsibility for the end of the two-state solution. Foreign ministers and officials from 77 countries and representatives of multi-international organizations are expected to descend on the French capital on January 15th to attempt to reinvigorate the Palestinian-Israeli peace process. Following the adoption of the UN Security Council Resolution 2334, December 23rd, affirming the illegality of West Bank settlements, Israel has unveiled its peace-opposing mask, refusing to work within the framework of international context. Meanwhile, 3 working groups for the Paris Middle East Conference are preparing an incentive package for Israelis and Palestinians with the hope of enticing them to reopen negotiations. Regardless of this and a disagreement over whether the conference had been rescheduled to guarantee the participation and input of U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, Israel had already made up its mind. The Prime Minister's office declined the invitation even before Paris confirmed the date, reiterating that Israel will only engage in direct negotiations with the Palestinians. Many Israelis agree with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in his refusal to take part in the conference, but what exactly is the conference expected to produce? A declaration? A working plan? The basis for another Security Council resolution? It seems that much has been written by Netanyahu's rejection, but little about the actual conference. The French had hoped that a double-track approach, first a conference and then separate meetings between the Israelis and Palestinians to present them with the conference recommendations is a discreet setting, and away from cameras might convince the Israeli premier to participate. Alas, it did not work. According to French plans, a double-track approach made perfect sense because the aim of the conference is to prepare benefit packages which can be assembled without the two opposing sides being present. The idea behind the package is to entice the Israelis and Palestinians into eventual reopening negotiations. A source at the French Foreign Ministry, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said the goal was never to open talks immediately or to propose a comprehensive peace plan. What they set out to do was to put the Israeli-Palestinian conflict back on the international agenda and bring the two sides closer to reopening talks, and this is what they did. To prepare the benefits package, 28 states and organizations had met in Paris conference on June 3rd to identify domains where the international community could be of use. They settled on their three areas: civil society, institutions, and state capacity building, and economic assistance. The civil society component would be aimed at both Israelis and Palestinians, while capacity building and especially economic assistance would target the Palestinians. From the start, France avoided creating a formal mechanism for preparing the package, given that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been plenty of peace-talking mechanisms, protocols, frameworks, to no avail. Instead, the idea was to constitute very loose and flexible working groups for the 3 domains. According to a senior EU official, Israel declined the offer to participate and made no suggestions. The Palestinians were mostly involved in the second group and made some suggestions. They brought several constructive ideas about border crossings and infrastructure. The EU official explained that the dynamics of each working group were different. Civil society groups started from scratch, interviewing stakeholders and building an inventory of perceptions and situations on the ground, while the financial and aid group based its work on structures already in place. According to the diplomats, the civil society group's recommendations on the January conference will focus on communication from 2 different angles, better communicating the 2 sides, what the two-state solution means, including what life will be like absent such a solution, and connecting Israelis and Palestinians by proposing channels for dialogue. On the practical level, a conference could take place at a later stage to bring civil society stakeholders together, but it's too early to talk about realistic working plans.